And it was during that time of prayer and during that time of studying the Word for the first time in a long time, since high school, God finally answered my question. Why did you take my career away from me? Why did you take my livelihood away from me? And he said, Lisa, I gave you this national platform to glorify me, and you didn't do it. I had to take it away from you to get your attention. I was so remorseful. I got down on my knees, and with tears rolling down my face, I said, if you give me another chance in sportscasting, not only will I give you my career, I'll give you my life. 1 week later, no coincidence, I heard from ESPN, and they wanted me to do some freelance reporting for them. So of course, I did it. And I remember I was going to Bible study at that time, and one day, one of the stories was with the Boston Celtics, and I was in charge of the muffins. And so I had to call somebody up to go take the muffins to the Bible study. That's how much and how important Bible study had come around to me. I didn't want to miss studying the Word. So then, I do that for about 6 months, and I get this job offer from my old station in San Antonio. They had heard that I lost those 2 contracts, and they were asking me if I'd come back and I'd take that noon and 6 position that I had before. Now, in the past, the old Lisa would have never considered that because it would have been a step backwards in my career. I was into ESPN now. If I worked hard enough, I would get not only a full-time reporting job, but I would probably work my way into anchoring. You know, remember, my goal was to be an ESPN Sports Center anchor. But for the first time in my life, I prayed about it. I prayed about this job. I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? And so I came to something in my mind. I said, you know, if they offer me the desire of my heart to be an ESPN Sports Center anchor, I'll know I'm supposed to stay. But if they don't, then I know I'm supposed to go back to San Antonio. Sure enough, the president pulled me into his office. He goes, Lisa, we can make you an offer, but we can only offer you full-time reporting. And I looked at him, and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot accept that job. I think I'm the first person that ever turned down ESPN, and then I went home, back home to San Antonio. And what do you think the first order of business was that God had for me? My mom. He wanted me to finally honor my mother. Despite the years of neglect, despite some of the things that happened while I was a child, the instability, the lack of money, he told me that it was time to honor my mother. So when I went back, what I did to honor my mother was I visited her. By that time, she was in a group home. She was not able to live on her own anymore. She had a caretaker, and she was in a group with other people. And so I would go and see my mom, and I'd take her grandson, who was 4 by that time, to go see her. And I would give her money. I used to hate that. And I'd actually buy her clothes when she needed them, and give her cigarettes, which I also hated. But I did that because, in my way, my thoughts, that was honoring her. And at some point during that stretch of honoring my mother, I also forgave her. Because I was in a Bible study. I continued to do Bible study when I went back to San Antonio, and I was in a study of Romans. And in Romans, I realized I really just finally came to grips with God's grace and all the things that He had forgiven me of. In college, oh, scary stuff, but He forgave me. And I thought, who was I not to forgive my mother? So I did. And I began to love her too.